Hello, and welcome to the Project Good podcast. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Hilton. Project Good is a social impact podcast interviewing experts and advocates about the pressing problems that we face globally and hearing how they suggest we move forward in the future. The Project Good podcast is brought to you by Project Good Work. The goal of this podcast is to inspire people and organizations to develop a mindset that can move others to positive action regarding the complex social issues facing people and the planet. For November, we're celebrating GivingTuesday and focusing on homeless youth. The organization that we've chosen to highlight for this topic is Urban Street Angels. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Jerry Troyer, who is the Director of Relationship Development for Urban Street Angels. Urban Street Angels is a nonprofit organization that provides bridge housing programs for homeless 18 to 25-year-olds in the San Diego area. Youth in the program receive assistance with continuing education and employment, as well as training in money management, finding and keeping a job, and other life skills. Homelessness, especially for young people, can be dually traumatizing because research shows that 50% of young people living in shelters and on the streets report that their parents actually told them to leave, or at least knew they were leaving and didn't care. Today, we are going to look at this ever-increasing problem. Let's get into the interview. First, let me introduce you to our GivingTuesday organization, Urban Street Angels, a San Diego-based nonprofit focused on ending homelessness for young people 18 to 25 years old. The organization offers key programs such as short-term bridge housing, which helps provide transitional supportive housing and job training opportunities. The Just Be You program, which is an innovative program utilizing technology and holistic care to help youth get off the streets. The Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program, which works in partnership with the Regional Task Force for the Homeless and the Veterans Village of San Diego. The program provides 24 beds for homeless youth seeking to leave life on the streets behind for good. Today, I will be exploring the topic of youth homelessness with Urban Street Angels Director of Relationship Development, Jerry Troyer. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you as well. So before we get into questions, I always like to ask everyone when we are discussing topics that is this serious, what led you to be involved in an organization focused on homeless youth?
It was the strangest thing because back in 2012, when the organization first was getting off the ground, I was a senior minister for a church in San Diego when we were looking for a nonprofit organization to support. And call it coincidence or divine guidance or whatever you want to, but we were led to this organization that was just in the creation process. So I met and became fast friends with the founder and executive director, Eric Lovett. He asked me to be one of the founding board members, which I, of course, said yes to. And that's how we started. And the cause and the need just really touched my heart. I have no experience with homelessness. I have no experience with family breakups or any situations that so many of our youth have gone through. And I think that's probably why it touched my heart so much. I have no idea what you've been through, and so I want to support you in getting past this.
Wow, that's amazing that it touched your heart so much that you wanted to get involved. Yeah. A lot of times when people haven't experienced something, because they can't relate, they tend to shy away from something. So that is amazing that you decided to step forward and to, take a risk essentially and learn something new.
It really touched my heart. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As we know, in San Diego, as I am also a local San Diegan, one of the things that I think is usually pointed out every time I have visitors that are not from California and definitely not from San Diego is like when they go downtown, they find that there's a huge homeless population, which tends to shock people. I think especially people who are not from California, because California has this image on for other states and definitely probably around the world of being glamorous. And
Yes.
so people are very shocked to find that it's not all glamorous all the time.
It is, and the Chamber of Commerce would like to tell you that it is, but regrettably it's not. Right.
Yes. And so the other thing, as I was preparing for this interview and I started doing some research, one of the things that I knew that the problem was large here, but I did not realize that overall in the U.S. and shocking, I guess, as America is, we always see America as, one of the, or if it's not the wealthiest country in the world, we have a huge homeless population in general. And then right now, or I guess it's probably increased since of the pandemic, but at least 40% of the homeless population in the U.S. are under the age of 18.
Yes.
And then California itself, I think only Nevada may be a little bit higher, accounts for 1/3 of all unaccompanied homeless youth. And then, I was also surprised that there's a big homeless youth population in Alaska. I was like, how do you survive?
It does make you wonder, but my understanding is they have many more services than we do, because of course you can't be living on the streets in December and January and February.
Yes. I was like, you'd be a human popsicle.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So I guess one of the things, because the biggest puzzle to me, and I think it's always the biggest puzzle to everyone that lives here, just in America, and we're going to first go, I guess, from macro level to a micro level. Why does America, despite its wealth, have one of the highest youth populations around?
I would suggest that the wealth doesn't have so much to do with it, because our wealth is not really evenly distributed, which is a whole separate conversation. But as far as the youth are concerned, certainly in California, and I would say elsewhere as well, this age group, the 18 to 25-year-olds, many of them age out of foster care and have no place to go when they turn 18. And for whatever reason, their foster care family won't allow them to stay in the home, and so they wind up on the street. So that's a big part of the reason for homelessness for this population everywhere, and certainly in San Diego. There's also the cost of living. So you've grown up in Kansas City and you come to San Diego because, of course, as you were talking about before, the streets are paved with gold and there are lots of jobs and wonderful opportunities. And you get out here and you find out that that's not necessarily the case. And oh, by the way, rents and the cost of living are, oh my goodness, and you have no place to go and you wind up on the street. Or you've come out to your family as gay or lesbian and they've removed you from the home, and so you're homeless and have to go someplace. And so again, California and especially San Diego and Los Angeles have that draw as being places for wonderful opportunities. But again, the cost of living is so very high. So that's why we're targeting this age group, the 18 to 25-year-olds, because there are very few programs specifically for them.
I guess looking at it, from programs, one of the things that I'm aware of, just because I worked with a different organization on this, is that I do know about the foster care, and that, once they become 18, legally they're considered an adult. But I would say, especially for kids now, we know 18, they don't seem like adults at all.
Right. I don't know the specifics, but our brains mature at different speeds through the age of maybe 21 or 22. And so some 18-year-olds are ready to be on their own and manage money and do what they need to do, and many 18-year-olds are not.
Right. And yes. And so I guess for the foster care system, it's, I guess for me, always a little bit ironic, a little bit, because they're there to supposedly, just it's in the name, to foster. Yes. And yet they have they just kind of put them out on the, doorstep. So I guess, are there things that the foster care system can do to make it easier for youth to transition once they become 18?
There are wonderful organizations. There's one in San Diego called Just in Time that works with youth that are aging out of the system and helps get them into housing and other opportunities as well. But I would absolutely say that you foster care agencies should not, I don't like the word should, but let's go with this. The foster care agencies should not allow, once they're 18, should not allow them to just go out to the streets. There should be some bridge into other housing or other opportunities.
Yes, and I guess I know that there are programs, but I would say the first thing, I'm just thinking from a logical standpoint, just because I always think A, B, C. That's just my personal thought. But with, I guess, the foster care, wouldn't it be, I guess, to their advantage, and as well as to I guess society, the city's advantage, that they themselves already would have these things in place?
All of this is absolutely to society's advantage, because very often the homeless, and especially homeless youth, can wind up in custody or in the emergency room because something awful has happened. And so it costs way more to treat the effects than it does to make sure that they're taken care of and be with them through the process.
Mm-hmm. And then one of the things I think people don't, I guess, understand, I guess, the gravity of the situation. Obviously, they know they have a young person that now they don't have a roof over their head. But can you, I guess, elaborate on the types of conditions that you see happen, or what youth face on the streets?
For about 3 years, we conducted a Tuesday night through Wednesday morning shelter, drop-in shelter at a church in the North Park area of San Diego. And the youth could come in and have dinner and watch a movie and take a shower and stay overnight. And they came in directly from the street. And then Wednesday morning, they would get up and go walk down the street and try and find a place in the park, or sleep in somebody's carport. And one of the things, and I don't know if I can say this without getting emotional, but I'll just go ahead and do it. I had the opportunity to coordinate that shelter and drive our van. We would take a van load of youth from the Ocean Beach area of San Diego to our shelter on Tuesday night, and then back on Wednesday morning. And more often than not, the conversation in the van was, "Where are you going to sleep tonight? Oh my God, where are you going to sleep tonight? Will you be on the beach? Will you be in the park and take the risk of being robbed or beaten or raped or somehow accosted, or have your worldly goods stolen?" So most of us have no concept of what it would mean if we had no place to go tonight, but it's incredibly frightening.
Mm-hmm. I guess, this kind of leads into my question, is like, when you are talking to young people who are homeless, obviously, they worry about where to sleep at night. But what are the other major concerns, especially, I would assume, this is just my assumption, correct me if I'm wrong, that concerns that you have as, 18 are different if you're homeless at, let's say, 30.
Yes.
So what would you say that the number one concern, or maybe three major concerns that you hear a lot from homeless young people?
And in talking with a lot of them and telling them about our housing program and asking if they're interested, a few of them said, thanks, but there's structure there and there's responsibility there, and I'm just really okay. And so they just stay on the street, but then they have their backpack stolen, or then they're attacked in the middle of the night, or something else terrible happens to them. So the concerns, I would say, and again, not the weather, not so much in San Diego, although it's a very warm day today when we're talking, and we do get pretty cool in the winter. But so staying out of the weather, physical safety, again, because they can be and have been attacked and beaten or robbed or raped when they're in the park or in a public area overnight. So I would say those are the main things. And then they begin to have the thoughts that, well, what am I going to do with my life? Maybe I need to work toward something different.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I guess this leads me then, because they are in that age of where I guess you're obviously you're going through physical changes and mental changes, but you're also fighting for that independence. So when you mentioned, they have the initial attitude like, I can do this, as young people often do for everything.
Right.
I guess so. How I guess this leads to the different services that you offer at Urban Street Angels. I guess how do you overcome this? Because this is probably the initial thing you have to come when somebody comes into your program.
So it's a change for them. And first of all, we have a housing in 3 different locations for a total of about 120 youth. But they are required to have a curfew. They're required to clean their room and do chores. They're required to either be employed or looking for a job or working on their education. So it's not just someplace to hang out. They need to be working on their future, because we really are a hand up, not a hand out. So included in that conversation when they come into the program are these rights and responsibilities. And if you're going to be with us, and we'd love to have you with us, this is what you need to do. And once you get in, if you decide that you're not ready, that's okay, but you have to leave. So we're providing the 3 meals a day, the safe place to sleep, as well as the life skills training on, and you were talking about this before, money management, finding and keeping a job, getting financial aid for education, just a variety of things that they might not have learned growing up because of their family situation.
Mm-hmm. So I guess just in case we would have someone that was a homeless youth listening to our podcast, how does one as a youth transition, I guess, or come to Urban Street Angels? Can they just walk through the door, or do they have to be referred, or how does it work?
It's an application process, and we do have a waiting list because there is great need in San Diego, as we've talked about. So I would encourage them to go to the website, and there's a referral form that they can fill out and then be placed on our waiting list. And then our housing coordinator will reach out to them and let them know that we've received their application. And that's www.urbanstreetangels.org.
Okay, great. So I guess, what would you, I know you personally have never experienced being a homeless youth or being homeless, but if you were going to give, advice or some guidance, what would you, if a youth found themselves just recently homeless, what kind of advice would you give them?
Mm-hmm. Contact 211, which is the government nonprofit website and phone number to call for referrals and more information. Also reach out to Youth Alliance Coalition, or YAC, YAC. They don't have an overnight shelter, but they have several programs to help get you your driver's license or state ID card if you need it, your social security card if you need it, a bus pass, some other resources as well, as well as San Diego Youth Services, and they can be of help as well.
Okay, great. One of the other things, just because it's a hot topic now in society, just with everyone, is about mental health. So obviously, being homeless is a traumatizing experience in and of itself. Would you say, I guess, within the homeless population, I guess, what are some top, experiences? Obviously, everybody would be nervous that you don't have a place to stay, but I guess to give us some idea of the different things that you have seen, I'm assuming that you sometimes tell you how they feel. And then also, this is a two-part question. Are there vulnerable subgroups within the homeless youth population?
We do see mental illness. And I would suggest, and for me, certainly, if I was on the street for more than 8 hours with nowhere to go, I'd have some anxiety, I'd have some depression, I might have some PTSD. So we see all of those things in many of the youth in our program. We also see schizophrenia and bipolar situations, and so things more serious than that. And our Just Be You program addresses some of the more intense mental health situations. So we're definitely in tune to that and aware of that. And then the other part, and I'm so sorry, the other part of your question was?
Are there, within the homeless youth population, are there subgroups that are even more vulnerable?
Oh, thank you. Definitely women. And I would say the gay and lesbian, the LGBTQ population, and most especially the transgendered population.
I guess as you guys do with Urban Street Angels, you do like a special outreach to these subgroups, or do you put them all, I guess, within the same group?
They are all within the same group, but we have a close relationship with Youth Alliance Coalition, with San Diego Youth Services, and with the San Diego Gay and Lesbian Center. So all of them are aware of our programs, and we get referrals from them on a regular basis.
Okay, great. Another thing, I'm bringing up the hot topics that are affecting everyone, I guess globally now, for the pandemic. One of the things, obviously, just even if you're living in your neighborhood and house, everybody, of course, has been cautious to keep distance from people. But I believe it's probably much more difficult to keep all of this, the distance, and you might not even have a knowledge until much later, because I don't even know how or if people found out if you're on the street about the pandemic itself. So my question is, I guess, have you had to take special precautions in informing homeless youth, or how have you dealt with these different, I guess I'm going to use the tag word for 2020, these unprecedented issues and things that are happening.
And that's certainly the truth. In our program, when you walk through the front door, very often you'll see me sitting there, and I will take your temperature and also ask you if you are experiencing any kind of COVID symptoms. We are very fortunate in our housing program that we have not had any issues related to that, but it is certainly an issue and a concern, and of course vaccinations are now available from many different organizations, and so while we don't do outreach to the streets, the organizations that do, I know, are encouraging people to get vaccinated.
Yeah, one of the things, because I started thinking of that, like when I've been driving downtown and just looking on the streets, I'm like, do do the homeless know that there's a pandemic? Even does anybody inform them? Obviously, I'm sure they see things on, if you're walking by a building, you might see something on the TV or wonder what has happened to everybody because we're all wearing masks now. But of course, though, if you are going through a lot mentally, you might be like, is this real?
Yes,
So,
yes.
yes. So I can't imagine the shock factor, I guess, that, first, you're homeless and then now this virus is going through society. And I guess I know you guys aren't doing outreach, but I guess within the programs, I'm just thinking of how to keep a virus contained in those situations. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I'm like, wow, just to think about it.
Right.
Yes, it's just, yes. I guess, do you have something that I guess in your time now in working with homeless youth that has surprised you, or something that remarkable that you have learned about homeless youth, or something you just didn't think about?
I think at the top of the list just is the fact that the reasons why young people in this age group wind up on the street. As we talked about before, I really did live in a bubble, and I'll be the first to admit it. And then I'm talking with these young people, and they're sharing their story about what they've been through and how they were in Kansas City and somehow they got to San Diego, and what their home circumstances were and what they've been through and all of that. So it just really, and as I talked about before, that's a big part of the reason why I'm involved in this program, is just the, oh my God, circumstances so many of these young people went through to get where they are in this moment. So I think that was the surprise. But also, I would say the really happy surprise in the number of youth, because we're about 87% success rate. And so the number of youth that recognize that their past need not determine their future. And so they come into our program, they do what they need to do, they find a job, they get their ID, their social security card or whatever, and then go on to the next bridge housing program and the next bridge housing program and get on with their lives. And so just the amazing determination of so many of them that they have a new life now and they're going to move forward, which obviously just makes my heart sing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, that was leading to the next question. I was going to ask you if you had a particular success story that you wouldn't mind sharing.
5 young people since, well, we're talking on a Wednesday, and 5 young people since last Thursday have we say graduated out of our program and have been given keys to their own apartment.
Wow.
So they've been with us through the program. They've followed the rules. They've done what they needed to do, and they're getting on with their lives.
Fantastic. How long, I guess what is, I don't know if there's like a timeline, but how long does, I guess, a typical youth spend in the program?
Between 4 and 9 months, depending on their needs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick, actually. I was thinking it might be longer, but I guess because they are adults, they can move forward quicker.
Right.
I guess bringing this back to kind of this is a large problem within, I guess, our American society. It's a problem globally, but since we're here in the U.S., we'll just focus here. How would you suggest, I guess, from a youth standpoint, how can this problem, I guess, be prevented? You can give me your 3 top ways that you would see like a solution.
I would say work with the foster care system throughout the country to make sure that there is a safety net for youth that age out of the program. In the schools, I would say impress on our young people what it means to be an adult. So it's fun. I've graduated high school and it's been fun and I have my friends and all the rest of that, but I'm just not ready for that responsibility. But what does that mean? So the benefits of becoming, I know this is going to sound funny, but the benefits of becoming an adult. You get to get a car, you get to get a place, you get to have a relationship, you get to be a big person, and being a big person is pretty cool. So maybe some training in our high schools about that.
Yes, I believe everyone needs that.
Yes.
Everyone. Yes, the thing that I think none of us got is, the realities of life. I'm not saying, obviously school is great, but when it comes to actual life, it's sometimes a shocker.
Boy, that's certainly true. Yes. All the way around. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then I think continue because there will be some number of young people that aren't able to stay at home because home is not available or is not around, or father's gone, mother's has a drug problem, or vice versa. So for whatever reason, they're not able to be around, to be at home. So I would say we Urban Street Angels is a very replicable, I don't know if that's a word or not, but it is now, a replicable program in wherever you are. And so let's set up this program to house and train and propel homeless young people in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Austin and Boston and every place we can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I believe I'm trying to remember what the count was. I think it was just a little over 4,000 beds that are available through the U.S. or something like that.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, because I think in the U.S. population, I think we're at 134 million. So a good chunk of those have to be children.
Right. And so many of the programs are for veterans and for single mothers and for youth under the age of 18. And while those are very worthwhile groups, this 18 to 25-year-old group is important as well.
No, I would say it's critical because this is essentially the next generation in regards to, our workforce.
Right.
So I think it's, extremely critical that we take care of the people who are 18 to 25 because, right now, the U.S. definitely, the way we are, we definitely are going to need a lot of people and a lot of brain power. So we really, really, really need to focus on this group of young people.
Right. Yes, they're going to be taking care of us at some point.
Right.
Yes.
And if we don't take care of them properly, scary things could happen to us.
Right.
So going back a little bit to Urban Street Angels, I guess how can the public help out your organization or offer support?
We are funded by the County of San Diego Health and Human Services, as well as several state and federal government organizations that cover our expenses as far as rent on the building and things like that. But extra programs, extra needs, we look to our wonderful donors to help us with that. And so things like special programs, things like clothes. Very often, pretty much all the time, when youth come into our program, they come with the clothes on their backs, and that's pretty much it. And so if you go to urbanstreetangels.org and click on donate, there's a place where you can either donate cash or use a credit card, or you can donate goods through Amazon. And so underwear, t-shirts, sweatshirts, those kinds of things. So if someone is interested, they invite them to go to our website and take a look at that. Also, if this really touches your heart and you'd like to have an event when we're able to do events again, have a fundraiser for Urban Street Angels. We'd come and thank you and talk to your friends about our organization. So we really appreciate the opportunity to get the word out in the community.
Fantastic. I guess in closing a little bit, what would you say for I guess if you were going to almost talk to yourself as someone that didn't know anything about homeless youth, I guess, what would you say is something that would be, I guess, something universal that they could understand?
Tonight,
I can clarify it if you need me to.
I think I've got it. Tonight, you're going to go to bed. You're going to put your head on your pillow and you're going to go to sleep. And you'll be safe and you'll be secure. You probably had something to eat for dinner, and you go to bed and you wake up in the next morning and you're safe and you're secure, and you don't have to worry that somebody's going to come and steal your stuff or knock you on the head or abuse you in any way. So very often we, and I will include myself in the we take that for granted, but for many of our young people, that's not their experience through no fault of their own. The home situation was not something that they could deal with, or they were in foster care and aged out, or there was a situation with their parents. So for whatever reason, they don't have that we have, and we have the opportunity to make a difference in their lives. And so to me, I just put myself in their position, and how would you feel if you were sleeping in the park tonight, even though it's 90 degrees in San Diego today? How would you feel if you were sleeping in the park tonight with your head up against your backpack, with one eye open, worrying about whether or not you're going to be safe?
Yeah, that's just, it's, without experiencing, it's hard to imagine, but just, I just even like, when you can't, if you're like displaced at your home for any time, whether, something happened to your home and, or even sometimes if you are, gone somewhere, and just that feeling of like you have somewhere to go it's priceless.
It really is. And as Dorothy said, there is no place like home. And so imagine if you didn't have one. And especially at this age, especially through no fault of your own.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jerry, for sharing that with us. And truly my pleasure. I'm like, thank you so much. It made me a little bit emotional as well. I definitely. I'm definitely touched. I have to get myself back because I started visualizing what you were talking about.
It's my job. I have to make you cry.
Yes. Well, so thank you again, Mr. Troyer, for your time and insight. And if you'd like to learn more about Urban Street Angels and to donate, go to www.urbanstreetangels.org/donate-2. I'll repeat it again. It's www.urbanstreetangels.org/donate-2. If you have a passion for an unserved community, a social justice problem, or you simply want to change minds, contact Project Good Work at projectgood.work to start your project of change today. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Project Good, where we're focused on what matters.